What's up, YouTube? You're gonna listen to a 30-year-old talk about Barbie. Why?
Hey, Barbie. Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie.
Is the film about social norms and the negative aspects they can cause psychologically? Is it about motherhood and the exploration of the female experience? Is this about corruption of innocence and how selling one's ideals for simple pleasures can smother them completely? All right, we're gonna get political. All right, y'all, like, comment, subscribe.
Barbie in the real world. That's impossible.
I'll start by singing this movie's praise. I love the director Greta Gerwig and believe that her film Lady Bird is a masterpiece. I also love her husband and her co-writer's work. Noah Baumbach has written some of the most painfully human films in the past decade. Marriage Story in particular being an interesting addition to his filmography, but I'll return to that later. Greta Gerwig did Lady Bird. Lady Bird is an absolute masterpiece. It was a film about a mother and daughter's relationship, which on paper seems very, very boring. But it was presented in such a way, heartfelt, wholesome way, that you kind of forgive it for being such a indie film.
My name is Lady Bird.
Well, actually, it's not, and it's ridiculous.
Call me
because
Lady
your name
Bird
is
like you
Christine.
said you would.
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail, and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
That story is a very intimate story between a mother and daughter's relationship. I know that there's people out there who would imagine this very somber and earnest piece of art to be like, well, why aren't the Transformers fighting? You can have both. I like both. I do. I can see why the people who wanted to make this movie, the bigwigs who were trying to push the Barbie IP, I could see why they chose Greta Gerwig, because her film Lady Bird was so inherently feminine. So you're not going to go to Michael Bay and be like, hey, can you get this Barbie IP off the ground? We're trying to do this whole Barbie thing. Like, you're not going to go to David Fincher. You're not going to go to Zack Snyder. You got to go to Greta Gerwig. She's an excellent director. She did a great film, and she will continue to do great films. Another praise being the aesthetic design of the film. The obvious references made within the film are mostly a tongue-in-cheek nod to a great piece of film in the past, most notably Umbrellas of Cherbourg? I haven't seen it. I don't know. It's a French film? I think it's French. I don't know. Anyway, Greta Gerwig confirmed that to be the aesthetic inspiration of the film. Though I'd be remiss to neglect that there are other moments where visual gags didn't land and a reference dragged on a bit too long. A quote from Quentin Tarantino sticking out the most in my head.
Okay, is this where we live now, where we just take great movies from the 70s and redo them as pop cultural artifacts?
Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
So to explain what the narrative of Barbie is before we get too into it, Barbie lives in Barbieland, and her friend Barbie and Barbie and Barbie and Barbie are all like neighbors, and they all get together and they all have fun, and they're great. But you then have Ken. Now Ken really likes Barbie, but not Barbie. But Ken has a rivalry with, you guessed it, Ken. So Barbie likes Ken a little bit, not too much, but Ken likes Barbie, but Barbie doesn't like Ken. But this Ken likes Barbie. It's a little confused. I know it's difficult to follow, but I promise this is really important. Now, everything in Barbieland is going great. There's nothing wrong with Barbieland. Wow, it's amazing. Everyone's having a great time aside from Ken. But everyone's having a great time. One day at a party that stereotypical Barbie is hosting, she says to the other Barbies, "What do you think it's like when you die?" And everyone goes into a tizzy.
This is the best day ever.
It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. Do you guys ever think about dying?
Turns out the mother in the story was playing with a Barbie, her daughter's Barbie. And then that just kind of infected this particular Barbie, the stereotypical Barbie. And anyway, here we are. The dynamic between the mother and daughter is really good. This is why they hired Greta Gerwig for this, because she knows this relationship very intimately, obviously because of her film Lady Bird. But it's just, there's animosity between these two. They don't see eye to eye. They don't agree on much. And it's only because the kid's a teenage girl. It's really all it boils down to. Although Margot Robbie is the titular character of Barbie in this film, unfortunately, she does not get enough to do. And in fact, her character is so passive that on multiple occasions throughout her journey, she gives up. She voices her opinion to give up. She doesn't want to do this journey. It seems like she's maybe even suicidal.
You can go back to your regular life, or you can know the truth about the universe. The choice is now yours.
The first one, the high heel.
You have to want to know, okay? Do it again.
Narratives are usually only as strong as its protagonist, and a protagonist can be identified by the arc they go over in the course of the events of the story. Barbie is a unique protagonist, being that she effectively doesn't change. The person who she was in the beginning of the film is essentially the same as who she was at the end. You could argue Ken is the protagonist, being that Barbie helps him discover self-love. But I'm not certain this message was what the filmmakers intended. I can see the argument that the mother and daughter duo are the story's protagonists, being that they both meet each other in the middle, learn from their past, and rekindle their familial love. But being that they only show up in the second act, that wouldn't work either. Barbie acts as this story's linchpin, driving the plot forward with her actions, but as a protagonist, she's incredibly passive and even gives up on her journey multiple times after mild inconveniences.
Barbie!
Although Margot Robbie is an excellent actress, unfortunately she is usually the least interesting character in any scene. This is due to the stereotypical nature of the character of stereotypical Barbie. An unfortunate truth in an otherwise star-studded and stellar cast. I can see why the writers went with this angle. Barbie being such an elemental presence in America's collective zeitgeist, they couldn't veer too far off of the path of the hollow decency that we perceive as Barbie's IP. Much like the hollow decency that is Mickey Mouse. Pleasant, friendly, helpful, and always unchallenged. Characteristics that make someone you know likable, but are poison to a protagonist's story arc. And that's why I believe that the filmmakers chose to go with a flat arc for her. The other characters in the movie who are much more interesting than stereotypical Barbie, such as Ken and the mother-daughter duo, have one, much more to do, and two, actually change and learn something over the course of the story. So Ryan Gosling stole the show in this. He was given so much freedom while being held on the rails. He had a path that he was on. I call him the mink coat Genghis Khan. So, his role is kind of similar to The Nice Guys, if anyone's seen that film, where he plays this like kind of a Weasley loser. But you want to see him succeed because he's so pathetic. But in Barbie, it's kind of, I don't want to say inversion of that, because it's not. He just goes over the top with it. And I can understand why the editor of the Fight Club piece that we did for Real Talk suggested we do Barbie, because there are many similarities between the misanthropic misogyny in the two works. Also, I think there was a stylistic bridge between the two. I think the filmmakers were inspired by Tyler Durden when they were set dressing and figuring out the costumes for Ryan Gosling's character Ken.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
But not a doctor. No.
There he is. Doctor!
Somebody get security.
Those of you who haven't seen the movie, one, why are you watching this video? Whatever. I'll tell you what happens for the Ken invasion. So Ken goes to the real world with Barbie. He goes, she is sent to the real world because she needs to find the reason why she's thinking about death. So, so then Ken tags along with her. He goes to the real world and then sees something that he perceives as the patriarchy. Then goes back to Barbieland with the idea of the patriarchy. And then everyone just jumps on board. That's it. Both Barbies and Kens are now like, yeah, rah, rah, patriarchy. That's it. There's nothing more to that. There's no scenes of him, like, passing law. There's no scenes of him rallying. Nothing like that. You literally, it's Ken walking towards Barbieland, and then next time we see him, he's already taken everything over. And he made a Mount Rushmore with horse faces on it. I don't know what's going on in this movie. I don't get it. He also, Ken believes that horses, for some reason, are a sense of masculine power. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know where that came from. It's weird. Because then you're like, okay, is it a symbol? No, it's just horses. There's no symbol behind the horses. Yeah, so then Ken takes over, which you as the audience, like, kind of feel for him because like he was just kind of getting on throughout the whole movie. Which it's really interesting that Ken is both the antagonist, a protagonist, as well as a comic relief. It's very interesting, his entire character.
This would be catastrophic!
Will Ferrell has been the lead in some of my favorite comedies such as Anchorman and Talladega Nights. As a major ingredient to cinematic experiences, he can be invaluable, but unfortunately, the character he plays in this is beyond confusing. I'll break down what this character can be considered within the wider context of this narrative. 1. He's a symbol of the patriarchy. This is an obvious one. He's a man leading a gaggle of other mindless drones to capture and effectively rob the will of a woman. Although he checks most of these boxes to fit into this archetype, he agrees towards the end of the film that Barbie essentially is a feminist icon that needs to be protected. He's effectively doing what he can to protect both Barbieland and the real world. 2. He's a symbol of consumerism. Here's another easy category for him to fit into. He's a powerful man, interested in the bottom dollar and profit of his corporation. Surely he's only interested in the soulless expansion of his company's reach, right? No. When the warehouse begins to mass-produce Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa houses, the CEO rejects the clear profit he makes should he turn a blind eye on the Ken's alterations. This symbol doesn't work either. 3. He's a symbol of pure, unadulterated feminism. Causes are made with all manner of different people and mentalities, but the screaming buffoon Will Ferrell portrays in this film isn't one to be emulated in any kind or meaningful way. Being that no clear idea or thought pattern can be traced through what effectively is the story's antagonist, it's hard for a narrative to have a clear identity on its themes and discussion points.
Get into that giant box. Get into the box and you'll go back to Barbieland, and everything will be as it was.
Oh wow, you made it far. Okay, like, comment, subscribe. It seems as though the filmmakers began with the idea of who the CEO was, but as filmmaking commenced, the higher-ups at the Mattel company asked the writers to pull back on the evil company concept. After all, why would any company self-sabotage their own image for the sake of a movie they're producing? This most likely gave Will Ferrell the freedom to do what he does best and become an unhinged 6-foot-tall toddler for some cheap laughs. But with the cheeky social satire on display, his part in this piece gets relegated to a forgettable nuisance to the heroes instead of a thoroughly thought-out puzzle piece. If you were to get somebody else in that role... Okay, in order to make this work, I would go with an actor that is so boring that it's actually painful to watch him on screen as the CEO of a toy company. That way the kids are upset with this person and don't want anything to do with him, even though he's not doing anything wrong. He's just a cold, hard numbers guy. Here's the other thing. The set design at the Mattel company is very, like, gray. So, and it's missing all the vibrant colors that the rest of the world has. Also, there's a weird moment where they go to the basement, or at least Barbie goes to the basement, and it's like a pocket dimension. I don't know why they shot it like that. It's so odd. Where she goes down a flight of stairs and then has to walk through a football field of a void in order to meet her creator.
Don't worry, you're safe here.
What is this place?
I always find I think best at kitchen tables.
They do such weird avant-garde things in this blockbuster movie. It's so odd. I don't get it. Could you imagine, like, Vin Diesel just, like, turning to the camera and being like, it's the clear and present danger? It's like, what? The f*** is that? Why did he just do that? Honestly, Vin Diesel should have been the CEO. Once Barbie returns to her home of Barbieland, she discovers that it's become canonized. Unfortunately, the filmmakers don't do a good job of showing that that's bad. The Barbies are happy and supportive while the Kens are as well. In the beginning of the film, we sympathize with Ken, being that Barbie is mildly aloof towards his courting techniques. The Kens are seen as a second-class citizen, and the movie makes time to express that. Unfortunately, once the dynamic is flipped, we're not shown why this is a bad thing. Both the Barbies and the Kens seem happy. And outside of the off comment made by Barbie about not wanting to rub someone's feet, all other inconveniences are mild at best. Relationships need sacrifice, and sometimes you need to stomach through your significant other's terrible story or nod to a song you don't even like. Men and women, or alternatively Kens and Barbies, should do just that for one another, because relationships aren't one-sided. I have two options of how the filmmakers could have properly raised the stakes and explained this new shift in the world. 1. Portray the real world to be truly egalitarian, that both men and women are treated fairly. That way, when Ken takes over Barbieland, the threat of despotic Kenland seeping into the real world holds weight, instead of the vague, empty window dressing that we're told in the film. 2. Hyperinflate the machismo sense of reality in the real world, and remove the impending collapse of the imagination stated by the Mattel CEO. Then threaten women they will no longer have any refuge in Barbieland or the real world. Eventually, at the end of the film, everyone realizes we need a happy middle ground between the hyper-masculine and hyper-feminine. Instead, they used both ideas at the same time and decided not to think twice about the logical outcome. But this is a 2-hour-long toy commercial that we shouldn't think too much about. It's a silly doll movie after all. Why would anyone think that deeply about it?
We haven't played with Barbie since we were like 5 years old. Oh.
Alright, to go into Barbie's backstory a bit, the creator, seen here, based the premise of Barbie on a German doll called Bild Lilly. There was this German guy with a funny mustache. Okay, well his girlfriend might have been the original inspiration for Bild Lilly. Being that Bild Lilly is the inspiration for Barbie, you get it. Regardless, you'd be shocked to hear this. The Mattel company wanted this blatant exhibition of consumerism to sell toys. Surprising, I know. Before anyone in the comment section tries starting a revolution against the proletariat, remember that the beloved movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory solely exists due to the cold-hearted capitalists wanting to sell chocolate. So like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the company who made that movie, right? The sole purpose for that movie existing is strictly to sell chocolate bars. That's genuinely why that movie was made. It wasn't because it was based off of the book. The book came after. They bought the rights to the book to sell the chocolate, to make the movie. And it's a beloved movie. And it's because the people who are making it had so much freedom. They just like got a shit ton of money by people who didn't know how to make movies. And then they just made a classic film. Well, the Lego movie is another, another example of that. The Lego company went to Lord and Miller, who made the first Lego movie, and like, hey, because your comedies are so good, here's the IP, make a movie about it. And again, that's another beloved movie. Mattel needed to devise a way to package their 2-hour-long toy commercial with a unique form of subterfuge branding. This is a neat meta technique writers use to trick people into rooting for a protagonist. Make a character exhibit an idea, then make that character unlikable. Any observer with similar ideas rethinks their position, and whammo, the audience comes around to your side. This is exhibited perfectly when a snooty teen belittles the doe-eyed Barbie. We feel bad for Barbie, shed our own disdain we previously had, and now want to see Barbie succeed. In a meta context, we now want to see the movie succeed. If you follow this logic to its conclusion, at the end of the movie, everyone's daughter gets a dream playhouse shipped to their exact location by a stealth bomber so that they never grow up like this brat. So they made the teenage girls so unlikable that they made it impossible for you to not root for Barbie. There's 4 girls sitting at a lunch table or whatever talking to Barbie, and they're all designed to look like the Bratz dolls. They even have the names of the Bratz dolls. So like it's Barbie talking to the Bratz dolls, and the Bratz dolls are just being like holes. And then you as the audience are like, wait, hold on, Margot Robbie's pretty. No. It's Bratz dolls.
You've been making women feel bad about themselves since you were invented. You destroy girls' innate sense of worth, and you are killing the planet with your glorification of rampant consumerism.
Remember when I said Marriage Story would be brought up again? Well, my crazy ass is pulling a red string a mile long across this corkboard. For those of you who haven't seen Marriage Story, it's about a broken couple going through a divorce and how external systems are truly to blame for forcing these reasonable and rational people apart. Both parties, being painfully human, brought to wit's end for no reason other than they weren't given the opportunity to work out their differences outside of the court system, while neither ever fully commits to the role of the story's villain.
There's so much I didn't do!
Thanks for that.
You're welcome!
I can't believe I have to know you forever!
Oh, you're fucking insane! And you're winning!
The reason I bring this up being that this is the first film I've seen bring to light the painful reality of divorce. In America, over 50% of marriages end in divorce, with an onslaught of stats and figures to make your stomach churn about the incentivization governing bodies benefit from broken homes and people's misery. As a child of divorce, it was as if somebody had finally shed light on a topic I thought I was the only one privy enough to notice. The reason I bring this up is both Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach are known for their independent work in both the masculine and feminine realms. Greta Gerwig making Lady Bird and Little Women both inherently an exploration of women's social circles, and Noah Baumbach creating male-led character dramas with Marriage Story bringing a societal issue to the forefront. The lack of character direction lends itself to a mismatch of conflicting themes. Is the film about social norms and the negative aspects they can cause psychologically? Of course it is. Is it about motherhood? and an exploration of the female experience. Why not? Is this about corruption of innocence and how selling one's ideals for simple pleasures can smother them completely? Yupperino! Unfortunately, Barbie never found the proper footing to explore any of these ideas in a more expressive and purposeful way. But regardless, while it's obvious I've expressed criticism of Barbie as a whole, it's a relatively inoffensive form of blockbuster entertainment. At times, it's overly sentimental when it hasn't earned the moment, and relies on its audience to do the imaginative legwork for it. Barbie has very tender, wholesome, entertaining, funny, and cathartic moments. And in summation, it is nice interim work to those involved. Its biggest achievement is creating excitement to see what these creatives do in the future. I'm sure there are nuances and idiosyncrasies that I, as a man, couldn't observe in this film. I never play with Barbies. I don't know much about the IP outside of what I know through osmosis from my younger sister. In all, the film was a beautiful but mismanaged tone poem that brought a surface-level smile to my face, through art design and performances. It deserves every ounce of success it has seen, and I look forward to both Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach's next piece. As a microcosm of both what I feel of this film, and what I believe the filmmakers wanted us to take away from the experience, I'll leave you with this purposefully imperfect scene.
You're so beautiful. I know it.
All right, what do you guys think of Barbie? Am I getting this wrong? If you're a fan of Andrew Tate, let me know. Let me know if I'm getting it wrong. If you're both a fan of The Handmaid's Tale and Andrew Tate, let me know, all right? I just want to make sure that this person exists. I'm curious. What was your favorite childhood toy? And also, this, aside from the Lego movie, I would argue is the best toy movie that has existed. My favorite toy was Legos. Oh my god, I freaking love Legos. To the point where, like, I'm a grown man now with gray in my beard, and my mom still buys me Legos for Christmas. It doesn't make sense. What's that, Barbie? You want to go party? Oh, no? She said like, comment, and subscribe. Wait, your mother's dead?